I thought I had finally found safety and love in this bond, but what I discovered instead was a web of deception so intricate that every memory we made together now haunts me as a reminder of how deeply I was betrayed. I Sarah in my office supply closet while my wife Emma was at home making dinner for our anniversary. 3 years of marriage, 5 years together, and I'd all away for what? A rush, validation, the pathetic need to feel desired by someone new. Let me paint the picture of what I destroyed. Emma wasn't just my wife. She was the person who held my head when I pooped after my dad's funeral. She was the woman who worked double shifts as a nurse during while I complained about working from home. She was the one who saved every penny for our house down payment while I bought useless gadgets on Amazon. Emma never raised her voice. Never made me feel small. She'd leave little notes in my lunch bag and still got excited when I came home from work. She was building us while I was fantasizing about the new marketing coordinator who wore tight skirts and laughed at my jokes. Sarah started 3 months ago. Fresh out of college, ambitious, flirty in that dangerous way that makes married men feel 25 again. She'd stay late, ask for help with projects, lean over my desk so I could smell her perfume. Classic stuff, right? But I'm not blaming her. I'm the one who was married. I'm the one who should have shut it down. Instead, I started staying late too, working on the Johnson account. I'd text Emma. Meanwhile, I'm teaching Sarah Excel formulas and pretending my wedding ring doesn't exist. We'd grab drinks after work. Just colleagues, I told. Networking, building team chemistry. The lies came so easily it scared me. Emma would ask about my day and I'd edit out every conversation with Sarah, every lingering look every time she touched my arm when she laughed. I became a professional at gaslighting my own wife. Seemed distracted lately, Emma said one night, running her fingers through my hair while we watched Netflix. Everything okay at work? Just stressed about the quarterly review. I lied, thinking about how Sarah had complimented my shirt that morning. How she'd said her boyfriend didn't understand her career ambitions like I did. Emma squeezed my hand. We should plan a vacation after review. Maybe that cabin in Vermont bookmarked. I agreed, knowing I had no intention of going anywhere with my wife when I was falling for someone else. What kind of monster does that make me? The kind who destroys everything good in his, apparently. The night I cheated was our anniversary. Emma had planned this elaborate dinner at home. She'd made my favorite pasta from scratch, even got dressed in the black dress I'd complimented on our first date. She was glowing, talking about maybe starting a family next year. I sat there nodding, pushing food on my plate, checking my phone because Sarah had texted about working late on a presentation. Emma noticed, of course. She always noticed. Sorry, I said, putting the phone away. Work stuff. She smiled, that patient smile that should have broken my heart. It can wait, can't it? Tonight's about us. But all I could think about was Sarah alone in the office. How she'd asked if I could help her with the presentation. How she'd bit her lip when she asked, like she was nervous about something more than PowerPoint slides. After dinner, Emma wanted to make love. She was tender, grateful, whispering how much she loved our together. I went through the motions, but my mind was elsewhere. I was already planning my excuse to go back to the office. I have to check on something for tomorrow's meeting. I told her an hour later. Won't be long, was already half asleep, trusting in content. Okay baby. Drive safe. I drove to the office like I was sleepwalking toward a cliff. Sarah was there looking vulnerable and beautiful under the fluorescent lights. We worked on the presentation for maybe 20 minutes before she said she was scared about presenting to the executives. We'll be fine, I said, moving closer to show her a slide transition. Brilliant. She looked at me with those big brown eyes. Thank for staying. My boyfriend thinks this job is just a stepping stone. He doesn't get why it matters to me. I should have said something supportive about relationships requiring understanding. Instead I said, he's an if he can't see how special are. The kiss happened so fast I almost convinced it wasn't real. But then we were pressed against the supply closet door, her hands in my hair, my wedding ring scratching against the metal shelves as I gripped her waist. We didn't have that night, just until our lips were swollen and my conscience started screaming. I drove home at midnight, Emma's anniversary dinner still sitting in containers in the fridge, and looked at in the bathroom mirror. The man staring back was a stranger, a cheater, a liar, a husband who'd betrayed the most beautiful thing in his for a moment of selfish gratification. Emma was asleep, her face peaceful on the pillow, one hand stretched toward my side of the bed like she was reaching for me even in her dreams. I slipped in beside her, and she instinctively curled against me, murmuring love, without waking. That's when it hit me. She loved me completely, trusted me with her whole heart, and I just destroyed everything we'd built together. But instead of confessing, instead of stopping, I lay there planning when I could see Sarah again. Because that's what cowards do. We don't learn from our mistakes. We just get better at hiding them. The affair lasted 4 months. 4 months of living a double, of becoming someone I didn't recognize, of watching Emma slowly realize something was wrong without knowing what. Sarah and I were careful. Different restaurants across town, always paying cash, never texting anything explicit. I thought I was being smart. Really, I was just being a more organized liar. This started 2 weeks after that first kiss. Sarah had this studio apartment downtown, all exposed brick and IK furniture. We'd meet there after work, and I'd tell Emma I was at the gym or drinks with Dave from accounting. Emma started working out more, asking if she looked okay, if I still found her attractive. She'd catch me staring at my phone and ask who was texting. I'd say it was work, or my brother, or spam, and watch her face fall a little more each time. I feel like I'm losing, she said one morning, standing in our kitchen in her scrubs, coffee mug trembling in her hands. Are we okay? I should have ended it right then. Should have confessed everything and begged forgiveness. Instead, I her forehead and said, just work stress. I love, more lies, more in the well of our marriage. The worst part wasn't the cheating itself, it was how good I got at it. How easily the deception flowed. How I started to resent Emma for trusting me, like her faith in our marriage was somehow naive. Sarah made me feel alive in a way Emma never had. That's what I told anyway. The truth was simpler and uglier. Sarah was forbidden fruit, and Emma was home. Sarah was excitement and adventure. Emma was responsibilities and mortgage payments and the slow, comfortable love of a real partnership. I chose chaos over commitment, over love, the fantasy over reality. Sarah started hinting about her boyfriend less and talking about more. She'd trace patterns on my chest after and ask what I was thinking. I'd lie there thinking about Emma making dinner, doing laundry, managing our entire while I played house with someone else. Sarah asked one afternoon, her head on my shoulder. Sometimes, I said, which was a lie. I never thought about leaving Emma. I just thought about having both women forever, keeping my cake and eating it too. I think about us having a real relationship. Sarah continued, not hiding, not sneaking together. The fantasy was cracking. Sarah wanted more than stolen hours in hotel rooms. She wanted what Emma already had: my whole heart, my future, my name. I started pulling away, making excuses, canceling our meetings. Sarah noticed, of course. She wasn't having second thoughts. She asked during what turned out to be our last time together. No, I lied. Just busy with work stuff. But I was having second thoughts. Not about Emma, not about my marriage, but about the sustainability of my double. I was exhausted from lying, paranoid about getting caught, guilty every time Emma smiled at me or made my favorite breakfast. I wanted to go back to before. Before Sarah, before the lies, before I became someone who could look his wife in the eye and pretend to be faithful. The problem with cheating is that there's no going back. Can't unknow what it feels like to betray someone. Can't unfeel the rush of deception. Can't unsee the pain in spouse's eyes when they start to suspect something's wrong. Emma found out on a Tuesday. I'd gotten sloppy, or maybe I wanted to get caught. I left my phone on the bathroom counter while I showered, and Sarah texted about missing me. When I got out, Emma was sitting on our bed, my phone in her lap, staring at the wall like she'd seen a ghost. Who's Sarah? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. The world stopped. Everything I'd built, everything I'd protected, everything I'd lied for, collapsed in that moment. Emma, I can explain. Who is Sarah? She repeated louder this time, tears starting to fall. I could have lied. Could have said she was a colleague, a client, anyone but what she was. But Emma deserved the truth, even if it destroyed us both. She's someone from work. I said, sitting on the edge of the bed like approaching a wounded animal. I've been seeing her. Emma made a sound I'd never heard before, like something breaking deep in her chest. She dropped my phone and wrapped her arms around herself. How long? 4 months. Our anniversary. I closed my eyes. Yes, she was quiet for so long I thought maybe she'd gone into shock. When she finally looked at me, her face was streaked with tears but her eyes were clear. I need to leave. She said, tonight, right now. I need out of this house. I tried to apologize, to explain, to beg for forgiveness. But Emma was done listening to my lies. Get out, she said, standing, suddenly taller than I'd ever seen her. Get out before I call my brothers. I packed a bag with shaking hands while Emma sat in the living room, crying so hard she could barely breathe. Every item I grabbed felt like another nail in the coffin of our marriage. My toothbrush, my work clothes, the watch she'd given me for our wedding. At the door I turned back one more time. Emma, I'm sorry, I love. I never meant for this to happen. She looked at me with red swollen eyes and said the words that still echo in my head every night. If love me, it never would have happened. I drove to a motel and called Sarah, thinking maybe she could comfort me, help me make sense of what I'd done. But when I told her Emma had found out that I was leaving, she went quiet. So what does this mean for us? She asked. I don't know, I said, suddenly realizing I had no idea what I wanted. Don't know. Her voice was sharp now. I've been waiting for to choose me, and now that free, don't know. Free. Like my marriage had been a prison instead of the best thing that ever happened to me. I need time to figure things out, I said. Sarah laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Know what? Forget it. I don't want to be anyone's consolation prize. She hung. My wife had thrown me out, and my mistress had dumped me. I was sitting in a budget motel room surrounded by the ruins of my with nobody to blame but. That's when I realized the truth about infidelity. Don't just cheat on spouse. Cheat on. Become someone can't respect, someone can't live with, someone who destroys everything beautiful they touch. The worst part wasn't losing Emma. The worst part was discovering who I really was underneath all my good intentions and marriage vows. I was a coward, a liar, a man who weighed gold for fool's gold. And now I had nothing. 6 months later, I'm writing this from a studio apartment that smells like the previous tenant's cigarettes and broken dreams. Emma filed for divorce 3 days after I moved out. She didn't ask for anything except her freedom, which somehow made it worse. The house we'd saved for, planned for, dreamed about. She sold it and moved back to her hometown. I heard from a mutual friend that she's staying with her sister, going to therapy, slowly putting herself back together after I shattered her into pieces. I tried calling her once, 2 months after everything exploded. Her number was disconnected. Her social media accounts all blocked. She'd erased me from her so completely it was like our 5 years together never happened. Except they did happen. And now they're poisoned memories for both of us. Work became unbearable after Emma left. Sarah had quit the day after our last conversation, probably to avoid the awkwardness of seeing me every day. Without the distraction of my affair, I had to face what I'd become, a hollow shell of a man who'd traded his integrity for temporary pleasure. My productivity tanked. I'd sit at my desk thinking about Emma making breakfast, Emma laughing at terrible movies, Emma holding my hand during her grandfather's funeral. All the small, precious moments I'd devalued while chasing excitement with someone else. My manager called me into his office after a client complained about my distracted performance. Everything okay at home, Michael? He asked, and I almost laughed at the irony. Not really, I said. My wife and I are getting divorced. He offered the standard sympathies, suggested I take some time off, maybe see a counselor. Good advice I was too proud and too broken to follow. The divorce was finalized on what would have been our 4th wedding anniversary. Emma didn't show to court. Her lawyer handled everything while I sat there alone, signing papers that dissolved the best thing that ever happened to me. I drove past our old house that afternoon. The new owners had painted it yellow and planted flowers in the garden Emma had started. It looked happy, alive, like it had recovered from the trauma of housing a cheating husband better than any of us. The worst moments came at random times. Grocery shopping and automatically reaching for Emma's favorite yogurt. Hearing a song on the radio that reminded me of our first dance. Waking in the middle of the night and reaching across the bed for someone who would never be there again. My family disowned me after they found out what happened. My mom, who'd loved Emma like a daughter, couldn't look at me during Sunday dinner. My dad, who taught me to be a man of my word, just shook his head and said, I don't know her anymore. Neither did I. I started drinking more, sleeping less, avoiding mirrors because I couldn't stand seeing the face of a man who destroyed his own for nothing. Sarah had moved on, found someone new, posted pictures on Instagram of weekend trips and fancy dinners. She looked happy, unbroken, like I'd been nothing more than a learning experience. Emma's friends are friends, they all chose sides. Guess which side they chose? I'd get invitations to weddings with my name scratched out, birthday parties where everyone would go quiet when I walked into a room. I became a cautionary tale, the guy who hid everything and it away. The loneliness was suffocating. Not just being alone, but knowing I'd chosen this isolation. Every night in my empty apartment, every meal eaten in silence, every holiday spent staring at my phone with nobody to call, was a consequence of my own actions. I tried dating a few months after the divorce was final. Downloaded apps, went on coffee dates, pretended to be someone worth getting to know. But how to explain to a new person that destroyed marriage for a fling? How to convince someone to trust when can't even trust? The women I met either ran when they learned about my divorce or saw me as a project to fix. Neither option felt right. How could I build something new when I'd burned down something beautiful for no good reason? Work fired me 8 months after Emma left. Performance issues. They said, but we all knew the truth. I'd become unreliable, distracted, the kind of employee who brings personal drama into the office, the kind of man who sleeps with coworkers and ruins team dynamics. I had to move to an even cheaper place. Started driving for a rideshare company to pay rent. 42 years old, picking college kids and pretending my hadn't completely fallen apart. Sometimes I'd drive past the hospital where Emma worked and wonder if she was inside, saving lives and healing people while I was out here barely surviving the wreckage I'd created. I wondered if she was dating someone new, if she'd learned to trust again, if she ever thought about me at all. Probably not. Why would she? I was the worst thing that ever happened to her. The anniversary of D-Day, as I'd started thinking of the day Emma found out, I wrote her a letter. Page after page of apologies, explanations, desperate attempts to make her understand how sorry I was, how much I regretted everything. I never sent it. What was the point? Sorry doesn't unbreak a heart. Regret doesn't resurrect a marriage. I'd taken her faith, her love, her trust, and turned it all into evidence of my betrayal. Some nights I'd lie awake thinking about parallel universes, versions of reality where I never met Sarah, never stayed late at the office, never away everything that mattered for a few months of selfish gratification. In those universes, Emma and I were probably planning vacations, maybe raising children, definitely growing old together. But this isn't that universe. This is the one where I chose to be a cheater, a liar, a man who valued temporary pleasure over permanent love. The worst part isn't the divorce, the job loss, or the loneliness. The worst part is knowing that somewhere out there, Emma is healing from wounds I gave her. She's learning to trust again after I taught her that the person who's supposed to protect her heart is the most dangerous one of all. I didn't just cheat on Emma. I cheated both of us out of the we could have had. I cheated our future children out of parents who loved each other. I cheated her family out of a son-in-law they respected. I cheated my family out of a daughter-in-law they adored. Every I touched, I made worse. Sarah was right to leave me. Emma was right to throw me out. My family was right to me off. They all saw what I couldn't, that I'd become someone unworthy of love, trust, or respect. The title of this post says I discovered a web of deception so intricate that every memory haunts me. But I was wrong about one thing. I didn't discover the web. I built it thread by thread, lie by lie, until it trapped everyone I cared about and the out of everything beautiful in my world. Now I'm sitting here at 2 a.m., writing this confession to strangers on the internet because there's nobody left in my to talk to. Nobody left to forgive me. Nobody left who cares whether I'm sorry or not. If we're reading this and thinking about cheating, about betraying someone who loves, about risking everything for a moment of excitement, let me save some time. It's not worth it. Nothing is worth becoming the villain in own love story. Because once crossed that line, once become someone who can lie to the person who trusts most, can never go back to who were before. And who become instead is someone nobody wants to know, including the person I was died the night I Sarah in that supply closet. What's left behind is just a ghost, haunting the ruins of a that could have been beautiful, if only I'd been brave enough to choose love over, commitment over chaos, my wife over my worst impulses. I thought I had found safety and love in my bond with Emma, but what I discovered instead was that I'm exactly the kind of man who destroys paradise just to watch it.